Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 8.52. Alright, well, let's continue this. We're still at this stalemate and hoping for an American relief. Ooh, we got a major victory here. That is good. Don't know why these Canadians retreated out so fast. They still have all their organization and things. Big Red 1, the 1st Infantry Division. And we have another major victory. Which is Manila. Okay, well, good. We're holding here. They're breaking themselves on us. Okay, like I say, I don't know why some of those units just turned around and retreated. Let's I wouldn't mind pushing the Japanese out of the Philippines. It'd free up the troops there, though I'm a little reluctant to try to do a naval invasion, fearing Japan would just smash into whatever forces were there. Okay, well, it looks like we now have the Americans here, so let's retreat out some of my forces that have been taking the pounding for so long. Let them get organized up again. Okay, let's see now. 20. Indian Division has shattered alright. Okay, well, planning the Great Crusade. Okay, yes, Shafe. This is the invasion, mainland invasion of Europe, and though we're already, of course, in Italy, very much so. And remember, there was the great triumph. It really was a great triumph of primarily American armed forces of successfully taking Rome. Sure, it wasn't a big battle in the city of Rome. It was basically the big battle was fought out here in Anzio, and once they could have just driven into Rome when they landed, but what's his name? Clark, I think it was General Clark, Mark Clark. Maybe getting that wrong. Sorry if I am. Could have immediately pushed to Rome. The Italians weren't going to fight, and the Germans weren't anywhere in the neighborhood. But he was busy securing his beachhead, so the Germans were able to rush in. But once they broke out of their beachhead, they were able to take Rome, and that was a really big day, big victory. But the next day, literally, that was June 5th, I believe. The next day, they did the D-Day landings. and the reporting time to get that information out to the the world's press hit at about approximately the same time reporting the D-Day landing. So the D-Day landings got all the big headlines, and there's sort of an afterthought mentioned that, oh well, we took Rome. Well, taking Rome is a big deal. So and that is in Europe, but as you can see here, it is in a send these guys over here to deal with this garrison unit. Mountains, it doesn't really matter. Send it down here. Is an isolated part of Europe. It is on the European mainland, of course, but it is a bit isolated for maneuvering elements. Okay, we have an important decision to make. It is time to start planning our eventual invasion of France. Shall we begin the process, or do you have other plans? Operation Overlord was the code name for the Battle of Normandy, the operation that launched the invasion of German-occupied Western Europe during World War II by the Allied forces. The operation commenced on June 6, 1944. Normandy landings, Operation Neptune, commonly known as D-Day. Okay, we can go into all that. We want to do this because I want the Americans involved. The British, just as we can see here, yes, I can build some more armored divisions and some more infantry divisions, and I'm sure that the mountains and whatever are helping defense of the German units, but it just isn't going to. I'm not going to rampage across Europe. I mean, I can look and see here and see a lot of fairly weak garrison troops, and I'm sure that I can take, I just believe I am at least, take these and secure a port, but I suspect a sledgehammer will start falling on me if I do. Now, the Germans' situation here, and of course we don't know that, but we can look at, we've done a little better than historical here in taking Leningrad and pushing up here about as historical levels. Now here they aren't doing as well. Yeah, 43 depends. But they haven't taken great chunks down into here. But neither, presumably, which I don't know, but presumably they haven't had a Stalingrad in which they've lost huge numbers of units. Now, again, we don't know with some of these battles, they may have had lots of manpower die. But I doubt we've been seeing large numbers of units go down. So having this sensible defensive line here may actually make Germany a bit stronger. So we will see, of course. So yes, we want to do this. We'll take the commands, whether we use them or not, I'm not sure. So that will help us out, though I do sort of hope to follow along with the American invasion of Normandy with our own sort of follow-up and another major victory. Oh, good. Well, send in some reinforcements here. Maybe a bit more than we should, I don't know, but I want to... So the hammer blows are falling right now, so let's blunt them out. Okay. Let's see. Oh, they've lost to Lexington. Mentioning that, let's check again on Hawaii. Oh, they've got a few more islands. Americans have one small garrison there. Well, hopefully they're responding. Okay. Portuguese war effort. In 1943, Japan ordered the government of Macau to accept Japanese advisors. The limited Portuguese military forces in Macau were also disarmed, although Macau was never occupied. In 1943, during the Second World War, the Portuguese dictator Antonio Oliveira Salazar leased bases in the Azores to the British despite previous collaboration with Germany. This was the key turning point in the Battle of Atlantic, allowing the Allies to provide aerial coverage in the middle of the Atlantic. This helped them hunt U-boats and protect convoys. Okay, this is a very interesting thing. Portugal very much didn't want the war in the Iberian Peninsula. Salazar was an anti-Nazi, and I can back that up with, believe it's As a Nation Rises or As a State Rises, it depends on maybe how you translate it, was a book that Salazar, I gather, wrote himself, though I don't know, did he had ghostwriters and just put his name to it, but he he was listed as the author. That was a book published shortly after, within a year, don't know the exact date right offhand, attacking, I don't know, well, Germany maybe, but definitely attacking the Nazis and Hitler over the Nuremberg laws. I mean, so here we have, yes, he was a dictator. He ruled to one degree or another by his dictates, as opposed to, constitutional legislative type measures or whatever. But he wrote a book that condemned the Nuremberg laws and the Nazis and all of that. So most leaders didn't do that kind of thing, and may have made, though I don't know that there were too many political leaders, made statements of condemnation for something like the Nuremberg law. He went so far as to write a book about it. So you're not going to convince me, I'm using that as historical evidence, so it should not convince you, that Salazar was pro-Nazi or pro-German. Now, he was, I do believe, a very strong anti-communist. So, wanting to keep communism from spreading and maybe using National Socialism to stop the spread of international socialism may have been something that he was thought acceptable, shall we say. But he definitely did not want the war to come to the Iberian Peninsula. He did support the nationalists to one degree or another in their fight against the communists and other radicals in Spain. Now, Portugal has, since going back before the Napoleonic Wars, a pro-British policy, and you can look into that. So that they long had a good relationship with Britain, trade and otherwise. Third Reich Events has an event that fires if Portugal joins the Axis, as Portugal joining, but that is just if they join the Axis, though I do increase the likelihood if Spain joins the Axis, because it has been said at some point, after the war, I believe, Portugal had enough ammunition for its army for about 4 days of hard fighting combat at this time, meaning it was very ill prepared to fight any serious war. So had nationalist Spain at some degree or another voluntarily joined the Axis as a German-Italian partnership, and then there would have been a lot of pressure for Portugal to have joined. If my evaluation is that if it was something like this, maybe not quite Rome fallen and such, but without, if Italy was presumably at this for Spain to join the Axis in a voluntary situation, as opposed to puppeting situation, that's a different matter. Spain wouldn't join if Italy was, not conquered. Would not join if it was conquered. So, but maybe might have politically convinced Franco that if, Italy was still reasonably strong, but North Africa to one degree or another had fallen, and that if you don't join now, communism will take over Europe because Soviet armies will march down, so you better join now. So maybe vaguely I could see the possibility of a non-victorious but non-losing, sort of a stalemated situation, Franco joining. I mean, that's sort of a vague maybe at best, but might join it. If under those conditions Spain and the rest of the Axis put pressure on Portugal, I think they would have done what they did in the Napoleonic era, which was, now of course they moved the royal capital to Brazil during that time, and of course Brazil is an independent state. I think that the government would have left for Angola, Mozambique officially, and just sort of told everybody, hey, we can't protect you just because we can't protect you. Do your best. We will try to come back. We shall return, kind of in a MacArthur sort of sense. That's what I think they would have done, especially once the U.S. is in there and feeling that, if they fought their 4-day battle and then lost, versus disbanding their army, allow collaborationists to collaborate and allow the rest of the people to choose between submitting and going to one level or another as they saw fit, of resistance as sort of the better survival method. You have to look at nations like that, or Portugal, or Denmark. When you can't successfully resist in a traditional military sense, you have to make some hard decisions. I think the government would have left and not have collaborated. Excuse me, a little bit of hiccups. But if it was the sort of the Axis controlling all of North Africa, not Vichy France as a semi-neutral state controlling part of it, but the Axis properly controlling all of North Africa, that, and basically controlling all of the Mediterranean, and Britain, maybe holding on, but just barely. The fighting in the Soviet Union was, maybe they had taken Moscow. Oh, there still may be a strong line somewhere between Moscow and the Urals, but mountains, but it just, Germany looking victorious. Then I can see Salazar going, well, looks like Germany's going to win the war. Our best survival chance is to collaborate. So that's how I evaluate Portugal. Now, I've found some really good stuff that I'm going to add a bunch when I primarily do though I've already added a little bit for the new TRE, dealing with Germany and Portugal, because there was significant economic, over mainly tungsten, relationships during this time period, which continued through the war. For the next version of TRE for Hearts of Iron 4, but there's a lot more information I found and good content for events dealing with Anglo-Portuguese relations, and I'm going to be adding a lot of those when I get to my British mod in time. So I just sort of the background that I've been studying, and so great. We have the Azores. Now, that's very good. Okay, now, we get location. We have a number of different operation or options for the location of the initial thrust in the invasion force. Each is on the coast of France, and each will likely be heavily defended. Your decision. Okay. So they're leaving this up to me instead of the AI picking. So we can attack up here. They've got their airborne forces. Are they getting ready to invade me? Right now, I sort of say go ahead and do that. Looks like there's 2 divisions of airborne forces there. One more, B3. They want to invade. I've been moving all my sort of maneuver units out, but I still got a lot of these garrison units around. And they're going to fight off a excuse me, a 3 or 4 division airborne invasion, I do believe. So we have the Palais de Calais up here in Calais. We have Normandy in the north, western France through Brest out here, or Bordeaux in the south. Historically, Bordeaux would not be out of the question, but Germans would have a lot of chance to attack convoys moving there, so that was not the best choice. Of course, the Germans expected it here. Look at the fort levels and looking at that here. Wow, okay, so they've been presumably getting various options on how much they're going to fortify their coasts. Hardly any in Boulogne. Yep. Normandy. Well, now when it's just 1111 like that, that means we don't have information, because if we look at it here, we can see that some of these provinces we see more clearly than others. Okay, I think with all the ports here, and the light defenses, no defenses here now, that's very light, non-existent. I think, and if they fired in orders before, normally they start and work their way south, but I don't know, maybe for some reason they're firing now. We're going to go in the Palais de Calais. Pas de Calais region there. Announcing the fall of Leningrad, Soviet Union loses 4 unity and gains 5%, which is quite reasonable. Presumably they're going to lose all that in there eventually for lack of supply. So long as they don't take it back anytime soon, that is. Meaning if they're not ready to break back in there. Okay, medium ship radar, that's very good. Now we've maxed that out. Let's do heavy anti-aircraft. Yeah, we'll help everything out. Okay, well at that point, we're going to end this episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking the videos. Do appreciate you, commenting, suggesting, giving ideas. As well as, of course, telling your friends about the channel. I would like to grow the base. Thanks so much. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.